coming up this week on the Wet Net Outdoors podcast.
And so it's just kind of a free-for-all. Whoever gets to the rod gets it.
You guys throwing elbows?
No, yeah. People are getting pushed over, and there's foot races all the time, and it's a fun way. I kind of thought to myself, like, how many kids out there are like me that don't have anyone to learn how to salmon and steelhead fish or learn how to bass? At the time, this is so funny, and there's going to be some people that remember this and some people that don't. At the time, I was rapping. So I used to do this. I had a beat ball.
Before we get this episode rolling, I'd like to shout out our awesome sponsors. First on the list, we have Fish Sauce with the Rod Positioning Gadget, also known as the RPG. It's a slick little tool that'll help you get your rod holders good and tight. Find them online at www.fishsauce.com. Next up, we have Anglers Unlimited. For those of you that like to support local businesses, these guys are doing it right. They have all the tackle you could possibly need under one roof. They also have a huge selection of fresh and cured baits. Robert and his guys are sure to get you lined out with what you need for success. Open 7 days a week from 4 a.m. to 6 p.m. Stop in and say hi, and be sure to tell them Clayton with Wet Net sent you. After that, we have Northwild Outdoors. Northwild is the top of the line when it comes to spinner blade patterns and paint quality. They also do custom paint jobs. Go check them out in Anglers Unlimited or Bob's Sporting Goods, and find them online at www.northwildgear.com. And last but not least, we have Coldwater Strong. Coldwater Strong makes the highest quality salmon and steelhead gear for boat and bank anglers alike. Find their gear online at www.coldwaterstrong.com. What's going on, everybody? My name is Clayton Dietz. Thank you so much for tuning in here for another week of the Wet Net Podcast, your local fishing and outdoors podcast for the Pacific Northwest. I'm really excited about this one. I've been trying to make this one happen for a little bit, and we finally got schedules to mesh. This evening, I'm sitting down here with Marlin Lefever. Everybody knows with Addicted Fishing. How you doing, man?
Yeah, good, man. Thanks for having me. I know the schedule thing was more me, not Clayton, so glad I can finally get in here, man.
Partially Clayton. As always, if you guys are liking what you're hearing and seeing so far, please be sure to give this video a big thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, share it out there with your friends. Having an absolute blast doing this, man. And
another thing you guys can do, too, is drop some comments below and let Clayton know who you guys want to see in here.
Yeah.
Like, who's some future guests that you guys might want him to interview, because it might give him some good ideas on what he can do in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. First things first, we got a big announcement here at the Wet Net Podcast. We're going to have a new logo that you guys will probably see at the beginning of this episode, courtesy of Jared Kirkley with Northwild Outdoors. He put us together a nice, an awesome new logo. I'm really excited for that. And also in the works, we have a new intro song being put together by Lucas Holmgren, who you guys seen in the last episode. So I'm excited about that.
That's awesome, man.
Instead of just going with a big song that's non-copyright, just trying to, it'll be cool to have one that's put together for me.
Yeah, for sure. And mentioning Jared Kirkley, I saw today he put out some pictures of some of his new blades that are coming out in the fall.
Yeah, they're going to be killers.
Yeah, I got to say, I'm pretty impressed with some of the stuff he's doing for sure. He's got some sick blades.
Yeah. They're going to be killers for sure. As always, we'll give a big shout out to our awesome sponsors. We got Anglers Unlimited over there off of Davidson Avenue in Woodland. Their hours are 4 a.m. to 6 p.m., 7 days a week. Go in there, check them out. A lot of cool stuff going on there. We got Adam with Fish Sauce, Ken with Coldwater Strong, and of course Jared with Northwild. So really excited for all those awesome sponsorships, and they're doing a lot of cool stuff for us.
And dude, I got to say, like, I went to that Anglers Limited store for the first time a week ago.
Yeah,
it is impressive.
It's done a complete 180 from what it was.
I was blown away.
Yeah.
Like, they had everything in there you could ever want. They had like 20 different coon shrimp brands.
Oh yeah,
like every coon shrimp brand you'd ever seen was in there.
Yeah.
I was blown away.
Yeah.
Really, really cool store. I'll definitely be going back for sure.
Yeah, and they're doing a lot of their own scents and stuff, and some stuff just for the store. You know what I mean? Like we talked about last episode, they're having their Customer Appreciation Day, Saturday, July 13th. They're going to be having a new merch drop, hot dogs, burgers. Go in there, check them out, say hi to those guys.
Nice.
So we'll get right into this thing. So one thing I wanted to talk to you about was we'll do a quick recap of the main stem Summer Chinook, Sockeye, and Steelhead seasons. Yeah. Obviously, Steelhead's still going, but Chinook and Sockeye are closed. But you spent a lot of it plunking.
Yeah. Yeah, plunking's like my favorite. It's like my favorite time of year. I just love being out there, hanging out with buddies, being on the beach. You can barbecue. You can run guys back and forth and bring your family. So, like, I had a lot of family time out there. And usually what I do is I try to spend 5 to 7 days just camping out there.
Right.
So I'll just camp on the beach, camp on an island somewhere, and just fish for 5 to 7 days. And this year was pretty freaking awesome.
You guys did 7 days this year,
We
didn't
did
you?
7 this year.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we had ups and downs. You know, there was definitely some slow times. It seemed like especially the morning tides, like the bigger tides, which is typical for Chinook. Like you see it a lot in Astoria, right? Like on the smaller tides, the Chinook bite
flush,
like
yeah.
way better. And the same thing was happening for these summer Chinook. We were getting bites in the morning on the bigger tides, but the afternoon tide was fire sometimes.
Yeah.
There was one day where we had 46 takedowns.
Oh, jeez. For how many rods?
Yeah, 11 rods.
Yeah.
So
that's killer.
I mean, we're running a lot of rods.
Yeah.
We're running a lot of rods. And the thing about the beach, too, is everyone thinks, oh, you're on the beach and you're plunking and it's super easy. No.
Yeah.
It's like way harder than being in a boat and trolling or doing, like, there's a lot of work.
Yeah.
You guys are going to see, we actually filmed it this whole.
Oh, did you?
So we'd like to do these 7-day series on YouTube where we film 7 days consecutively.
Yeah.
And so I told Sean, I'm like, we should do one out there. So
Yeah.
I did a 7-day summer Chinook fishing. So everyone's going to see the whole week and everything that happened.
Yeah.
It was my buddy Colt's birthday. It was his 21st birthday.
Oh, really?
So that day was interesting to say the least. Colt
Yeah.
was a little, you know, he
Yeah,
wasn't
a little
all there.
foggy.
He wasn't
A little-
all there. Let's just say that.
Yeah, for sure.
And he lost, and you guys will see in the episode. We were letting him. It was his day.
Yeah.
So normally, how we do it on the beach, and this is just how I run my plunking camp. Everyone does it differently, but we just typically do whoever gets to the rod.
Yeah.
We all work. We all work hard. We all bait. We all spend time running the stuff out there.
Yeah.
And so it's just kind of a free for all. Whoever
Yeah.
gets to the rod gets it.
You guys throwing elbows?
No, yeah, people are getting pushed over, and there's foot races all the time, and it's a fun way to do it. But on this day, we were like, okay, it's Colt's birthday,
Yeah.
so we got to get him a fish.
Right.
So what we ended up doing, it was like every rod, we were like, okay, Colt, this is you, it's your fish.
Yeah.
He lost like 7 or 8 in a row.
Oh, no.
I'm like, dude, I don't know what you did. You kicked a puppy or something, dude. Like, you got some bad karma on you for your 21st birthday. But finally, Cameron actually ended up coming out in the evening time, and you can see it on our Instagram channel. There was a Colt finally gets one, and Cameron's like standing next to the rod, and he's like, Colt, here is your fish. I am giving you a fish. And the rod's like just getting hammered. And then all of a sudden it stops.
Yeah.
And we're like, oh my gosh, he's gone. But what I think had happened was he had like come at us or something.
Yeah. Made a turn.
And so we're all standing there all disappointed, like getting ready to break it and reel it in or whatever. And then all of a sudden it just folds.
Yeah.
And Colt was right there. So we grabbed it and we landed. Really nice fish, like a 17, 18 pound summer Chinook. But
Yeah.
we didn't see a lot of the size this year that I've seen in previous years.
Of the June hogs.
Yeah. We saw some good ones. Like we caught one wild that was pushing 30.
Oh, really? Yeah.
But that was the only one that I can really remember that was like really big. We caught one hatchery fish that was 25 and a half on the scale.
Oh, really? Yeah.
But other than that, they were all under 20.
Yeah. Were you guys getting into much for sockeye and steelhead and stuff?
So
or was it mostly Chinook?
we caught a lot of sockeye. Unfortunately, had to release them all because it wasn't open when we were out there.
Yeah.
And I think we killed, in the 7 days, we averaged like one steelhead a day.
Okay. Yeah.
So typically what I see, so we're fishing in the like Richfield area. So typically what I see in Woodland in that area is the fish don't really show up till now.
Right.
So right now is when you really start getting good runs of steelhead.
Yeah.
A lot of that lower river fishery will kick off a little bit earlier. If guys are fishing on the Oregon side, especially fish that are going to any of those Oregon tribs.
Yeah.
So like the Clackamas, the Santiam, the McKenzie, all those fish get early runs of summer steelhead.
Yeah.
So that's why you saw guys like Josiah Dar and Revis and a lot of these guys just smashing them.
Yeah.
They're fishing the Oregon bank.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and then you get to kind of jump over to the Washington side and get those Cowlitz and Lewis fish.
Exactly. But what you typically find is they show up now. Like I know Cam has been guiding the Cowlitz the last week, and it's been really good.
Been really good. Yeah. That's awesome.
So.
Do you think that we might potentially see another opener for any Chinook or sockeye, or do you think that game's kind of done for the year?
I would have thought that they would already opened it.
Yeah.
We have 543,000 sockeye. We're well over what they predicted.
Right.
And, typically how it works, right, is they give us a quota based on a lot of different factors.
Yeah.
And usually what they're protecting is there's some Snake River sockeye
Yeah.
that go way up that are endangered.
Yeah.
And so they're protecting a lot of those fish. And so you have to get a certain escapement over the dam before they'll reopen it for us. We are well over that escapement.
Yeah.
So I don't know what the state's doing. It's really annoying, and I'll just say it. Hopefully, if someone from WDFW is listening, because it's really annoying what you guys do.
Yeah.
They're very, very quick to close a season on us.
But they take forever to open it.
They never want to open it.
Yeah. Well, look at our spring Chinooks seasons. Like they give us they wait until what was that, like May 20th or something like that, May something or April something. I'm sorry, for that mid run update or whatever, where they relook at everything.
And by then, all the fish are like practically gone.
Yeah,
it's like, I don't know. It's frustrating that they do that. I would have thought we had an opener already.
Yeah.
Typically, there would be a compact meeting this week because I know that the state, a lot of times they like to open it for 4th of July.
Right.
Because you get a lot more angler participation, license sales, revenue into the economy.
Right.
And so it'd be really nice if they had a compact meeting this week. I would hope that they would.
Yeah, yeah.
The
I haven't seen anything.
Thing is normally it would be today.
Yeah.
Because normally they have compact meetings on Tuesdays. So my suspicion is that they're not opening it for the 4th, which sucks.
Yeah, yeah. That's a real big bummer.
But you can still go upriver.
Yeah.
So I'm heading up to Chelan next week.
Oh,
so I'm going to go up there and fish with Ryan from Riverside Guide Service for 3 days and just smash on the Sockeye.
Yeah.
Have you ever gone up there and done that?
I haven't done that, no.
Dude,
but you gotta tell Ryan how bad I dropped the ball, because I was supposed to do a podcast with him a couple months ago, and I ended up falling asleep. And I slept through it.
No, no,
I dropped the ball on that one.
All right, I'll make sure to pitch some shit for you. Yeah, Riverside. I'm going up there to fish with Riverside, the Brewster Pool. So.
I've seen a couple videos. I think I've seen was it JT and Scott Call went up there with them, and that looked like an absolute blast.
I've never done it. So I did the summer Chinook fishing with Ryan up there a few years ago, which was insane.
Yeah.
But I've never done the Sockeye, so I'm excited to go check it out.
Well, it looks like they're already in them.
Yeah.
Oh, that'll be really exciting.
They're getting them good.
Yeah, that'll be really exciting. I mean, obviously there's still steelhead fishing going on. I'm still hearing good reports from the steelhead too.
Yep.
Guys are kind of starting to hover fish. Guys are still plunking, so on and so forth.
That's my plan for the 4th. I'm going to go out there. I'm planning on I typically like to go down and watch the St. Helens fireworks show.
Yeah.
With my family and stuff. So I'm going to go down there and try to hopefully get a spot somewhere on a beach.
Yeah. It's going to be hot.
Yeah, I know. Run some lines for steelhead and melt in the sun.
Yeah, absolutely. I know that there's still guys that are getting fish over at the head of the channel, and I've even heard some reports of fish being caught in the channel too.
I have too.
So
that's where Pop-Off is still guiding.
Yeah. That's something I might try to touch on this weekend, just because I haven't trolled in a while, and see if I can remember how to do it.
I know. That's one of my favorite fisheries, is that 360 fishery that we get in the backyard. Like, everyone gets really excited for Buoy 10.
Yeah.
And I go down there and I love Buoy 10 too, but like those first 2 weeks of September in like Longview, Woodland, Washougal area is a blast.
Yeah, I watched that episode that you did with Cliff Salee at the mouth of the Cowlitz, and that looked like an absolute blast.
Yeah.
I actually, believe it or not, I live in Longview. I just started fishing the mouth of the Cowlitz last year, and it was insane. Like, if you think Drano's bad, at least like Drano has some kind of direction. Like, everybody's trolling the same direction.
It ain't like that at the mouth of the Cowlitz.
No, it's not. And because some of those, I'm a Longview local, and some of those Longview locals look like pissed off all the time.
Oh,
you know
yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
You get a lot of mean
You get that a lot. Even in Woodland, you get that a lot. You get a lot of the old timers and stuff that are just have been doing it for 30 years, and now all of a sudden there's 150 dudes there. But I always like to tell people, and we can kind of segue into this. I feel like even on the addicted side of things over the years, like, we've gotten a lot of hate.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times people are like, well, why are you filming that? And people get mad when we do it. But the reality is it's not us.
Right.
The state of Washington and the state of Oregon has depleted our runs so bad that you have people that will flock to certain areas to catch fish. It's Cameron's analogy, right? Like, if you're a soccer player, you love to play soccer.
Right.
If there's only one soccer field, what are you going to go do?
You're going to go to that soccer.
You're going to go play soccer. And that's what people do. There's only certain fisheries now that we have. And unfortunately, it just puts everyone in these same spots. And that's just the reality of what we have to live with now. And hopefully it changes. I know there's a lot of people working on trying to make changes. One of the companies that doesn't get a lot of recognition is NSIA. Have you heard of them?
I've heard of them, yeah.
Yeah. So they're the National Sport Fishing Industry Association. They fight for hatchery and salmon and steelhead rights more than anyone.
Yeah.
And they have a lot of wins under their belt that they don't really talk about.
Yeah.
And so I know they're working on some stuff that'll hopefully make some changes and stuff, but
we can only hope.
Just the reality of where we're at now. You look back in the day, there used to be 600,000 steelhead going over Bonneville.
Right.
And now it's like, what do we get? I don't even know. It's like not even 100,000.
Yeah. Yeah. And you look at some of the fisheries that we have, like that January sturgeon fishery that was supposed to be 11 days of retention. We got 2.
Yeah.
And we really shouldn't have even gotten that second day. Because we caught, what was it, 80% of our quota on the first day.
And I talked to Cam. A lot of that is just opportunity. When you have all these other fisheries shutting down, everyone's like, well, I'm going to go sturgeon fish.
Right.
Because there's nothing else to fish for.
Yeah.
And so it's, for me to sit here and say that Addicted hasn't, affected fisheries, we have. Right. For sure. I'm not sitting here blind and saying that I haven't got people excited and got people into fishing. But honestly, if you hate me for that, I don't care.
Yeah.
Because when I set out to do Addicted, that was my whole goal.
Yeah.
Was to get other people excited about going out and going fishing. And I feel like I've done that and I've accomplished that. And, when I go to these bashes, like we just had one at Fisherman's, I do a little special thing where I bring up all the kids.
Yeah.
There was like 75 kids under the age of 18 there that came to our bash. And whether, these so-called haters out there want to believe it or not, those kids are who are going to fight for them when they're old timers.
Yeah.
When me and you are in our 60s and 70s, those younger kids are going to be the ones that are going to be hopefully helping.
Yeah. Hopefully helping keep these fisheries rolling.
Exactly. Keep them alive, because as much as we all want to believe that these things will be around forever, if there ain't guys that are fishing for them, they ain't going to be around forever.
Yeah. Well, you got to think about it too. For every one guy that's pissed off about something Addicted does, there's 100 guys that love it.
And that's what I love about it,
what I mean?
And I try not to get stuck on or even give the haters time of day.
Yeah.
But, sometimes it's nice touching on it. If you're out there, and even a guy like you, right? Like as you continue to grow and your podcast gets bigger, it's inevitable. Right. There's going to be guys that are like, screw that Clayton dude. He said this on his podcast and ruined something for me, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, you have to just learn to not give a crap.
Right.
Like you have to just learn to just wake up and be like, yeah, dude hates me. Cool. Sucks for him that he thinks about me all the time.
Right.
And that's one of my favorite things to say is I always love living rent free in some of those guys' heads, you know, because some of those dudes I don't even know some of them. Mm-hmm. Like there's a lot of really big haters that talk about me all the time, and I literally don't even know their names.
Yeah. And that's hilarious.
It is what it is. It's like you said, the Addicted fans and the followers out there that love us and love what we do, and the community that we continue to grow far outweighs the 10 mad dudes that are in the Northwest. So it is what it is.
Yeah. Unfortunately, what they say is the squeaky wheel gets the grease. You know, those the haters are always louder. But there was an instance where I recently had to delete an episode, and I was getting hate for that, and I let it get to me. But granted, I was only 4 months into my podcast at the time, and the following wasn't really there, and it's just like. You get an episode that gets a lot of views, and then something happens, you have to delete it. It hurts you in the soul a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So just trying to figure out how.
And that's an unfortunate scenario. It's not like you knew what was going on there. It's not like you knew what was going to happen with that fishing guide. It's not like you knew any of that. You were just interviewing someone that you thought was cool.
Yeah. Well, I think the most unfortunate part is that I had heard rumors, and I decided to go through with it anyways.
Yeah.
And just the timing of it was the worst part. 4 days.
Yeah.
Anyways, getting back onto that 7-day fish camp you guys did. Do you got any funny stories of anything specific that might have happened? Guys getting elbows thrown at them, guys, there's anything specific like that?
Yeah. So when I was talking about foot races, and you guys will see it in the video, one time, one of the rods at the top of the beach goes off, and we're all, of course, down at the other opposite end.
Yeah, that's how it goes.
And so me and Jason Harmson are just like, I'm coming from this way, and he's coming from this way, and we're running about as fast as we possibly can. Me and Jason collide.
Yeah.
And basically almost fall over, and then someone else grabs the rod. So we didn't even get to get the rod. Someone else got it. So, but there was a lot of that stuff out there. A lot of people falling over, a lot of people. One night, so I reverse anchor my boat, out there. I don't know if anyone knows what that is, but you can basically leave your boat in the Columbia just by reverse anchoring it and tying it off to the beach at night. And one of the mornings, I woke up, and I had reverse anchored it a little too close in.
Yeah.
And my boat was completely dry, sitting on the sand. So we all had to sit and kind of wait I was supposed to pick people up that morning, and I had to call them and tell them, yeah, dude, sorry, I can't pick you up until my boat gets some water under it.
Yeah. Oh, that's hilarious.
But that beach is fun. You know, I think we'll probably do it every year now just because it's Colt's birthday and it's kind of a, you know, I've been doing it for, 15 years now.
Yeah.
I've been fishing that beach during the Summer Chinook opener.
Yeah.
So,
a little bit of a tradition to start. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And it always pivots when it opens.
Yeah.
You know, so I always have to like make quick decisions of when it's going to open.
Yeah. Back to, never knowing what our fisheries are going to do.
Exactly. Usually in the Summer Chinook, though, it's always for the better, which is cool. They usually always open it early, which I love.
Yeah. So. That's awesome. Let's see. We got about 7 minutes here before we got to cut to a break. I'm trying to think of something we can touch on before we get into the second segment.
Let's talk about Sockeye for a little bit. So,
okay.
The Sockeye season, even though it was, I didn't get to catch a lot while we were out there.
Yeah.
After we came back, I think I traveled once. I flew somewhere for a little bit, but then I came back, dude, and it was like 6-7 days of like the most insane smash down sockeye fishing I've ever seen.
Well, yeah.
I mean, I was going every day and killing 2 fish. I was calling buddies. I mean, me and my buddy Charles Stolley was just... It was an incredible fishery this year. Incredible. Yeah. And one of the things I love about sockeye is just how good they are.
Oh, they're delicious. Yeah. They cut like springers.
Yep. So I love to stockpile them. So I stockpiled like 7 or 8 in my freezer. I smoked some up.
Yeah.
And then I'll eat them over the next few months. Did you get out and get much sockeye fishing in?
I did a little bit. We had one day specifically that wasn't too bad. We did 4 sockeye and 2 steelhead for 4 rods. So nice. it was a pretty good day.
Were you boat or banking it?
I was doing it in boat. Yeah. Down there at the lower stretch.
Yeah. And I've done that a lot too. But man, when you get up in here and you fish these triple spin glows, it's so. One time I was fishing one of the popular beaches the day before it closed, and no exaggeration, at like 9:30, 9:40 in the morning, I bet I could look up and down the beach, and at any given time I could see 30 fish on it one time.
Jeez. Yeah.
I mean, it was crazy. Crazy good fishing.
Yeah.
Crazy good. We had those addicted assassin blend coon shrimp that we came out this year with Revis.
The millennials? Yeah.
Me and Revis kind of came up with our own blend, and it was awesome because they were murdering sockeye, which was really cool to see. So,
yeah, that's awesome.
We kind of designed them for springers. But so far they've caught sockeye, steelhead, and springer, so they've been working really well.
Yeah. I'm curious to see how they do in the fall. That's one thing that Cliff and I had talked about a little bit is kind of like an underutilization of coonie spinners in the fall. Like sometimes they can be a game changer.
A lot of people don't use them.
Yeah,
myself included.
Yeah,
I think I've gotten to the point where I just feel like it's. I don't know. It just seems a lot, that fall fishery, especially those first 2 weeks, is just pretty easy.
Yeah.
Like the fish are just very aggressive. The water temperatures are right. You have a lot of Chinook in the river, and it's pretty easy to go out and get them.
Yeah,
if you know what you're doing.
Yeah. I got a good buddy of mine, John Ferguson. He swears by him. And John actually fished with Cliff a lot, and I think they're kind of 2 peas in a pod in the way their brains work.
I'm trying it this year for sure.
Yeah.
Just from what I've seen in fishing with Cliff last year, because I fished with Cliff and he was using all coon shrimp.
Yeah.
And I don't use them. I'm typically fishing out of woodland.
Yeah.
And I don't use them much. I do some other stuff. One little trick that I like to do that not a lot of people do is I take, just like the bumblebee tuna, and I wrap my spinners.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I take just a little bit and I kind of clamp it on there, and then I take stretchy thread, and on the body of the spinner, where like the little rubber is.
Yeah.
Just wrap tuna on there.
Gotcha.
And
that's slick.
Dude, sometimes it can really set you apart out there.
Yeah.
Really set you apart.
That's really slick.
Yeah.
That's something I hadn't even thought of.
Yeah, and it works good. Like, people think you can't wrap that because just the chunk light tuna. You can.
Oh, yeah.
You just have to use enough thread and just smash it in there good enough. And
guys have been wrapping it on quickfish forever. Yeah.
Yeah, and it works good. And just a little bit on the spinner.
Yeah.
You'd be surprised. So what I typically will do is usually in the morning, I'll run my spinners. And then I'll have 6 like ready, wrapped.
Yeah, that way you can just clip it.
I just clip them out.
Yeah,
as stuff's happening, clipping it out.
Yeah, that's super slick.
Yeah.
What I think we'll do is we'll go ahead and cut to a quick break here, and then when we get back, we're going to dive into some of the fun stuff here. We're going to get into kind of a background on you personally.
Yeah.
And then kind of where Addicted started, kind of what goes into building a brand like you have. I mean, you guys went from small to you guys are pretty much nationwide now.
Yeah, it's
and
pretty crazy, man.
And and you guys have got some pretty cool announcements coming up. You guys just did your summer drop that I'm sure is on fire.
Yeah,
and
it was nuts. You could see downstairs when you saw in the warehouse, it was like freaking dumpster fire going off down there.
I pulled in the driveway and I was like, oh, I know which building is theirs.
Yeah.
Yeah. So already, we will be right back here after this short break. Alrighty, we are back here from our little intermission that we had to take there. So now we're going to go ahead and dive right into a little bit of, we'll dive into Marlin Lefever, man. We'll dive into a little bit of your background and kind of what you went through, I guess, as a kid.
Yeah. I mean, I can start from the top. I mean, a lot of people may know this, some people may not, but I grew up in foster care. So I was in and out of foster care pretty much my whole life. My parents unfortunately struggled with heroin addiction.
Yeah.
So I lost both my mom and my dad, and unfortunately my brother, all to heroin addiction.
Oh, jeez.
And, as a baby, I was kind of like in and out of foster care from I would say age 6 to 10, 11, 12, somewhere in there. I would, the way the state works is they give your parents an opportunity.
Right.
So they take the kids away, and then they put the parents on a program to get them clean. And then if they can prove that they're doing well, they give the kids back.
Yeah.
So I went through that cycle for years.
Yeah.
Taken away in foster care for 6 months. Then my parents would get me back. Then the state would come in, take us away. And that kind of happened for years.
Yeah.
Through all that, my dad loved to fish.
Right.
So my real dad, who unfortunately was addicted to heroin, was also a big fisherman.
Yeah.
Loved to fish. I had a lot of memories with him at Lacamas Lake, catfishing, and just had a ton of memories with him, fishing growing up. And I think it kind of stuck with me.
Yeah.
What ended up happening is at age 12, unfortunately, I got in some really bad trouble.
Yeah.
And I was sitting in front of the judge, and the judge, I think, basically at that point said, you know what, if we don't take these kids away from their parents, they're going to end up down a road that we don't want to see them down.
Right.
And so that day I ended up in a foster home in Battleground, Washington. And I was in that foster home from age 12 to 18.
Jeez.
So 6 years. They were an amazing foster family. They actually ended up taking guardianship of me.
Oh, really?
Which is similar to adoption, but you keep your last name. You get to keep some of the state benefits and stuff as you get older and go into college and all that type of stuff. But
right.
Really, really great parents. And the thing that they did that kind of, I think, reignited my love for fishing that I kind of had from being young with my dad was they put me in Boy Scouts.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I was in Boy Scouts at age 12. Actually ended up becoming an Eagle Scout. So I went through Boy Scouts all the way till 18, became an Eagle Scout. But, you go on all these camp trips. I remember a trip to Idaho where we hiked into the Idaho backcountry and fished all these lakes. And the Scoutmasters were just really good at keeping fishing and the outdoors as a passion.
Yeah.
Well, as I got older and really started getting into fishing, got a job at Sportsman's Warehouse, started salmon and steelhead fishing.
Yeah.
And I started thinking to myself, how many kids out there are like me?
Yeah.
That grew up in a scenario where my foster family didn't fish. They could care less about fishing. And fishing, especially in the Pacific Northwest, is a very generational sport.
Yeah.
It's passed down from your grandpa to your dad. And for years and years and years, it was kind of gatekeeped, I felt like.
Yeah.
It was very hard to get information. And even if you got the information, people were not very nice about it once you learned.
Right.
I remember lots of memories where I was trying to just get in the mix on certain rivers and guys were just not nice.
Yeah.
And so anyway, circling back, as I got older, I kind of thought to myself, how many kids out there are like me that don't have anyone to learn how to salmon and steelhead fish or learn how to bass fish or trout fish and so that's how Addicted was born.
Yeah.
I created my first website. It was called Fishing Addicts Northwest.
Yeah.
That was the original name of Addicted before I changed it to Addicted Fishing.
Yeah.
And
I remember the Fishing Addicts Northwest
too.
Yeah.
Yeah. And all I did back then, man, was I was like, you know what? There was no goal.
Yeah.
It was I'm just going to create this website. I had me and 4 other buddies, and we were just writing fishing articles.
Okay.
We were just writing articles about how to fish. We were doing big demonstrations with pictures and drawings. And we had a little forum on there. And I was writing for Northwest Sportsman magazine at the time, so I was also writing magazine articles. and just trying to build a name for myself.
Yeah.
Like just trying to like build this Fishing Addicts brand. Well, I created like a logo, you know, and I was like making some hats and like doing some stuff. And before you know it, like people were like, hey, can I get one of those hats?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I only have like 2 of them. I just made them for myself, you know? And so then the hat was born.
Yeah.
So then I started like, you know, back in the day, I actually had a shelf in my living room, and I had an iron, and I had a bunch of blank hats, and then I had patches. And if someone wanted a hat, I would go into my living room, I would iron the patch on myself by hand, and I would just give them the hat for free.
Yeah.
And I did that for probably 2 years.
Yeah. I remember Lucas in the last episode saying he would help you do some of that stuff too.
So I'll bring Lucas into the mix here in a second. But so for, 1 to 2 years, I was just kind of like, there was still no goal. But, the motto I always had was just, I was really, really passionate about fishing. Mm-hmm. My parents were addicted to heroin, and I wanted to try to inspire people to get into something healthy like fishing. Yeah. And so that's all I was doing. I was just, writing blog articles, writing up magazines. I was doing like little seminars. Like I would go to like the Steelheaders meeting. What's the Northwest Steelheaders? Yeah, yeah. I would go to a bunch of those, and sometimes I would speak at those, and just was really just trying to educate people on my love for fishing. Yeah. And trying to teach people. Well, then, like I said, as the brand started to grow, for years I was just giving out hats and giving out stickers, and then before you knew it, you just everywhere you just see stickers. Yeah. So I used to throw these massive. In my younger years, I was a partier. I used to like to have fun and drink, and and so I used to throw these massive parties at my house, and I would use those parties as like guerrilla marketing techniques. Yeah. So all these people would come to my house, and next thing you know, I'm freaking handing out 30 hats, I'm handing out 30 stickers, and I'm just giving them to people for free. Yeah. Well, then it turned into like, hey, remember that hat you gave me? Like my buddy John wants to buy one. Yeah. And, or this guy wants to buy one. So then it just like organically all of a sudden, okay, now I'm like selling hats and I'm like selling t-shirts, and I'm like, okay, this is kind of like turning into something that I never thought was going to turn into something. At the same time, we were making these little we were using this is back in the day of like GoPro 1, GoPro 2, some of the original GoPros. We were making, so my buddy Rob was a big skateboarder, snowboarder. And me and him had this idea is what about making fishing videos that were like snowboard videos, where they were cool with sick music, and they were just these highlight reels of fishing. Yeah. So that's what we were doing back in the day. If you go on our YouTube channel and you look at some of our very, very first original videos, a lot of them were edited by my buddy Rob, and they were just clips that we were filming on our GoPros, and then we were just putting them together and throwing music to them and making them look cool. Yeah. And that's when I feel like we really started to grow even bigger of an audience. Yeah. Because I think people were watching those videos being like, man, those kids make sick videos. They're making really cool videos. Right. And then all of a sudden, I started getting people kind of asking me, oh, have you ever thought about having a sponsor, sponsor your video or whatever? And so then I brought on Procure and Short Bus. Short Bus Flashers was our very first sponsor we ever brought on. Oh, yeah. He's still a sponsor of ours today, 13 years later.
That's awesome.
And then Procure was the second. Brad's Fishing was the third. Mm-hmm. Also still sponsors 13 years later. That's awesome. So that's pretty cool that they've stuck with us, and we've all kind of just grown together. But yeah, it really started getting crazy, dude. It turned into what you see today. And, I brought Lucas on board. Mm-hmm. I didn't have as much experience building websites. So when I built my first one, I had my buddy Josh Manfredi help me. He was living with me at the time. Mm-hmm. And so he helped me build the first one. Well, then I met Lucas at a bar in Battleground called Rancho. Yeah. He was actually singing karaoke. Yeah. And at the time, this is so funny, and there's going to be some people that remember this and some people that don't. At the time, I was rapping. So I used to do this. I had a beatbox, what I called the beatbox, in my garage. Yeah. And it was just for fun. Yeah. We just did it for fun as kids. We were all in our young, teens and 20s. And what I realized is girls liked it. And so once I realized girls liked that we were musicians or rappers or whatever, we just doubled down on it. We started making all this music, and we'd have these massive parties at my house and make these freaking rap songs in our booth. It was hilarious. That's funny. If someone wants to, they can scour the internet and probably find some of our old songs. But I met Lucas at the bar, and he was singing karaoke, and he was an amazing singer. Yeah. Lucas is an insane musician. Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't realize it until after we recorded last week's episode. I went and I kind of looked through some of his reels on Facebook. I was like, geez, he's good.
He's good.
Like, he's
and
really
so he
good.
got up and he was singing that song, Georgia. You know, Georgia.
Yeah.
Like, he was singing that song, and I was like blown away. I was like sitting there watching, and my friend was like, dude, are you like, you want to ask that dude for his number or what? Like, why are you like, and I'm like, dude, his voice is like insane.
Yeah.
And so I went up to him and I gave him a Fishing Addicts Northwest business card.
Yeah.
And I said, like, hey, I have a rap booth at my house and we'd love to like have you like come sing on one of our songs or whatever.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh yeah, cool, whatever, man. And he kind of blew it off at the time. And then he got into fishing.
Yeah.
And I think he remembered like that card. And so he hit me up and he's like, hey, you ever go steelhead fishing or whatever? Yeah. And so I took Lucas on his and went and helped him catch his very first steelhead. I don't know if he told that story.
I think he did.
Yeah, so he might have told that story, but that's kind of how the relationship and friendship with Lucas was born. Mm-hmm. And then he starts coming over to my house and he starts like helping me with the website and helping me kind of like grow Addicted from that level on like more of a. Lucas was really smart with like SEO, search engine optimization, and marketing, and I learned a lot from Lucas in my early years of like getting into that stuff.
Yeah.
And Lucas is actually the one that came up with the motto, educate, entertain, inspire.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So way back in the day, me and him were trying to come up with like what can be like the tagline.
Yeah.
And this is as the brand was like growing and we were starting to like figure out like, okay, we could maybe like do something with this other than just like, you know, we might be able to make some money off this someday.
Yeah.
You know? And so we started trying to kind of grow it as a brand, always still keeping in mind that my motto was educate, entertain, inspire. Like I always just wanted, again, even now to this day, like that's still what we try to do.
Yeah.
Like we really just want to get people excited about fishing and get kids inspired to go out and go fishing. Mm-hmm. You can see my wall right there. The guys in the camera can't see it, but that's all like letters and stuff that kids have sent me over the years.
Yeah, that was one of the first things I noticed when I walked in and closed the door.
Yeah. It's a really big passion of mine to just get kids excited about salmon and steelhead because it's a really hard sport to get into.
Yeah.
And unless their dad and grandpa teach them, they don't get into it.
Right.
And so anyway, the thing was kind of growing, and I'm just going to walk through and give you the whole story of Addicted how to where it is today because
keep going.
I haven't really told it like this in depth, and this is a great opportunity to do it. So, Lucas starts coming over. He starts teaching me a lot about marketing and websites, and the brand just kind of keeps growing. And my background, so at the time when I met Lucas, I was actually a manager at Krispy Kreme Donuts.
Oh, really?
So my first job at 18, well, I was a landscaper at first. I hated landscaping. So I got a job at Krispy Kreme, and I worked my way up in the ranks like really quickly and became a manager.
Yeah.
And I was making really good money. I was making like $70K a year.
Oh, yeah.
You know, doing really well. Being a manager at Krispy Kreme and, you know, doing my Fishing Addicts thing on the side.
Yeah.
And then my buddy came to me that owned a motorcycle shop. It was called Nash Motorcycle Company. And he came to me and was like, hey, you know, I'm looking for someone to come help me like market and grow my brand. Mm-hmm. And so I left Krispy Kreme. I went to this motorcycle shop. And that's where I really started to learn like marketing, digital marketing, media, like SEO. Like I dove in and just became a nerd about it.
Yeah.
Took a couple college courses, like really just started watching all these YouTube videos and really trying to figure out like, okay, how does marketing work? How does digital marketing work? How do you build a brand? As I did that through the motorcycle shop and I learned all that and I helped grow his business, I was kind of paralleling it with Addicted. Right. So as I was learning all this stuff, I was kind of doing the same thing with Addicted and doubling down on it.
Yeah.
And social media really wasn't a big thing at the time. You know, Facebook was like just getting started and all that.
Yeah. What's kind of the time frame all this was going on?
Dude, I don't even know.
Yeah.
Like 2013 maybe.
Yeah. So Facebook was just kind of
Yeah, it was just starting.
Yeah.
And so what I did was everything that I was learning through Nash Motorcycle Company, which if you guys want to look up some sick motorcycles and you're listening to this podcast and you're a fan of motorcycles, check out Nash Motorcycle Company. Because I actually helped him build his brand to a point where he moved to California.
Oh, really?
And now he's like huge.
That's awesome.
Like he just built a motorcycle for the guy who does Aquaman.
Oh, really? Jason Momoa or whatever?
He just built him a motorcycle, and they have a collab product where they're making like axes and hammers. And
oh, that's awesome.
It's pretty cool. So his brand has grown huge too, and I was proud to say I was a big part of it. So it's pretty awesome. But so as I was learning all that stuff in Nash, I was kind of paralleling it with Addicted. and it was working.
Yeah.
Like I was some of the first dudes in the fishing industry that was really like understood social media and understood marketing and how to like grow a brand on social media. And so like I started that Facebook group, which is now the largest Facebook group, fishing Facebook group on Facebook. There's awesome. 115,000 members in it. There's not a bigger one on Facebook that exists.
That's awesome.
So it's pretty cool. And yeah, it just all started growing. And then what I would do is anytime something new would come out, like Facebook rolled out Facebook Live. I went to Cameron and I said, dude, we got to do like a live weekly fishing show. Like every week we'll just go live on Facebook.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know, at the time Cameron's like, yeah, whatever, that's stupid, you know. But I'm like, dude, just trust me.
Yeah.
It's going to work. Because I knew that Facebook wanted to grow their live stream.
Yeah.
And so it worked. Like originally when we first started doing it, Facebook was showing our live stream to like 3, 4, 5 million people.
Oh, jeez.
Because they were trying to grow their live streaming platform and there wasn't a lot of people live streaming on Facebook.
Yeah.
And so I just was doubling down on everything and just trying to grow it. And, you know, I was getting more sponsors and still not, you know, growing the brand to anything that was like make good money. Like it was still just like a hobby business, kind of like a side gig.
Yeah.
And still really not a business, just still doing it because I loved fish.
Yeah.
And then what happened was I left Nash and I got a job at a company called shirtspace.com.
Yeah.
And I worked there for years. I eventually became the vice president of that company.
Oh, really?
I got hired as a customer service manager. He hired me as a business development guy because he kind of knew I was like a jack of all trades.
Yeah.
So as I grew Nash and as I grew Addicted, like I said, I just kind of learned all these things organically on my own, just studying and just trying to figure out how stuff worked.
Yeah.
And so he brought me on as like a jack of all trades. He basically said like, hey, here's my business. This is what I'm doing. You know, can you come help me grow it? And so I came on as a customer service rep and just kind of worked my way up through business development, growing his brand until I eventually became the vice president of that company.
That's awesome.
And I was running Addicted on the side.
Yeah.
Well, as Addicted was growing and Shirt Space was growing like really big, Addicted was growing like fast.
Yeah.
Like it was like all of a sudden where it was like, holy crap, like now we have 100,000 followers on Facebook and this Facebook group's huge and like I'm getting all these sponsors and like I'm selling like quite a bit of merch.
Yeah.
And so somewhere along the way, I don't know when, but I realized like if I ever really wanted to grow Addicted, it couldn't be Fishing Addicts Northwest.
Yeah.
Like it was too pigeonholed into the Pacific Northwest. And so somewhere along the way, I sat down, ran some ideas around my buddies, and I came up with the idea Addicted Fishing. And then I had a guy named Don Melendez, I think is his last name. Sorry, Don, if I butchered your last name. But I had a guy who makes some really sick logos. I gave him the idea. I said, this is what I want to do with the Addicted logo. We went back and forth for a couple weeks until we landed on what is now the Addicted logo that you see.
Yeah.
And I spent the money, a ton of money, trademarking the logo.
Yeah.
And yeah, now it's turned into what it is today, which now is like, I never would have dreamed in a million years that I could have grown into what it is today. And I attribute it to, you know, you asked me like how to grow a brand, right?
Yeah.
Like if you look at the history of Addicted and how I did it, it was so grassroots, dude.
Yeah.
It was so like at first Addicted was like Marlin and his 5 friends, you know, and then as it grew, like I brought Cameron on board because what happened is as we started to grow, and you've probably seen this in videos before, like we were growing and we had a good brand, but I think a lot of people just looked at it as like, oh, those are just those like punk ass Addicted kids.
Yeah,
like,
yeah. Well, a guy like Cameron helps bring a lot of credibility to what you're doing.
Exactly. Like I think people didn't respect us.
Yeah.
And so all of a sudden we bring Cameron on board and they're like, oh, like why is Cameron working with these Addicted dudes? Like he's like one of the most respected guides in the Northwest.
Yeah.
And that really like catapulted our brand, especially with sponsorships, like with brands wanting to work with us and really believe in what we do. I think just having Cameron on board really helped that.
Yeah.
And now if you look at Cam, like we always call him the Tom Brady of salmon fishing.
Yeah.
Like I'm obviously biased because he's one of my best friends and stuff, but I would literally right now, I would put Cameron in a room with 7 of the best salmon fishermen in the Northwest, and I would bet my house that he would outfish every single one of them.
Yeah.
That's how confident I am in Cameron. Like I just feel like he's that good.
Right.
to the point where it's like annoying. Like we even in our little internal group will be like he comes in here the other day and he's like, I'm like, why are you just so good at everything? I'm like, I hate you. Yeah. Like he's just that type of dude.
Yeah.
Don't tell him that though. Hopefully he doesn't listen to this podcast because his head's already too big.
Yeah, hopefully not. We'll see.
But yeah, I'm trying to think of where I kind of misstepped along the way. But I think, then as I changed it to addicted fishing, then it really started to grow. Then what I did was, I had a big following on Facebook. We were doing our weekly live show. And, we had an Instagram account and a TikTok and all this other stuff. But YouTubers started reaching out to me on Instagram and being like, hey, I'm coming into town. I'd love to salmon fish with you.
Yeah.
So, and I remember still at this time, I'm not making barely any money doing Addicted. I'm putting way more money into it than I'm making.
Right.
And anyone that's trying to grow a brand or grows a business has to know that that's just how it is.
Yeah.
You're gonna when you first start, you're gonna spend way more money than you're ever gonna make.
Right.
And you probably see that with this podcast.
Oh yeah.
You're investing in all this equipment.
Yeah.
You're doing all this stuff, and you're probably not making zilch.
Nope, nothing.
Exactly.
No,
but eventually,
I was lucky enough that Robert and Jen helped me get that camera, because otherwise I'd still be recording it on my phone.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So
I remember, even some of the first days, me and my wife getting in massive fights, when I was doing some of the first sportsman shows, because I was maxing out all my personal credit cards to be able to buy merch, and just praying to God and crossing my fingers that people were going to buy my merch so I could pay those credit cards off.
Right.
I did a lot of that, and that's just how you grow a business. That's just how you grow a brand, and you just have to do it if you believe in yourself.
Yeah.
Damn it! Now I lost my train of thought. What was I saying before that?
Oh, I don't even remember.
I'm rambling a ton, guys. Hopefully, you guys are enjoying this kind of really deep backstory of Addicted.
Yeah. Well, one thing that
I was talking about YouTube, so I'll cut into that. But ask real quick.
One thing I really want to dive into is, obviously when you're building a brand like Addicted, you're going to go through trials and tribulations.
Oh, yeah.
Are there any of those trials and tribulations that kind of stuck in your brain, you had something big in the works and it just kind of fell through?
Oh yeah, let's talk about that. Well, let me finish the YouTube thing. So there's YouTubers coming into town, and the first one that came in, his name was SB Fishing. His name's Matt.
I remember that.
He's awesome dude. But we're talking about YouTube, and I'm not really focused on YouTube.
Yeah.
I don't really do a lot of YouTube. We were doing some tutorials and we were throwing some stuff up on YouTube, but we weren't really doing YouTube.
Yeah.
And he's showing me his analytics.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you're making that much money on YouTube?
Yeah.
And my mind was blown. I mean, my head about exploded when I looked at his thing, and I was and I think at the time he had 100,000 subs.
Yeah.
And he was making more money in 1 month on YouTube than I was making in 6 months doing Addicted.
Oh, jeez. Yeah.
And so at that moment, I was I am turning all my focus to YouTube.
Yeah.
And so that day, I called Cameron. I said, we're starting a weekly YouTube show. We're putting it out every single Sunday. We're going to call it Addicted Life.
Yeah.
And at the time, we kind of did it in a show format. As I've continued to learn about YouTube, I understand that that's not how you are successful on YouTube.
Right.
So I've pivoted a lot over the years on YouTube. And I'm sure that anyone that watches our YouTube channel knows that I've tried a million different things to try to figure out YouTube's algorithm. But the long story short, consistency was key. What I realized is okay, you know what? We're going to at one point we were uploading 5 videos a week.
Right. Yeah.
We were going hard trying to grow our brand. And it worked.
Yeah.
I think at the time we had 13,000 YouTube subs. 13 went to 20, went to 50, went to 100, went to 150 fast.
Yeah.
In a short time span.
And now you guys are at what, 390 something thousand?
Yeah,
That's insane.
I think we're going to break 400K this week.
Jeez, that's insane.
So it's really cool. And again, I always try to say, and I always try to give props to, sorry, I had a burp. I got a burp there. The fans and the followers.
Yeah.
Because Addicted, our summer merch drops and our merch drops that we do and everything that we do at Addicted would be nothing without the people that follow us and support us and love us.
Yeah.
And so huge shout out if you guys are listening, and truly know that I love you guys.
Yeah.
I love all the people out there that have supported Addicted, because we would not be there today if it wasn't for all those people that supported it, and it means a lot to me. So,
well, it's life changing. It's life changing for you and your team, and it's also life changing for all the kids that might be in a position like you were in.
Yeah.
You know, like just seeing the kind of changes that it can bring for somebody. Like
it really does, dude. And one of the things I never thought about that really resonates with me is guys in the military.
Yeah.
So one time, dude, and I'll tell you, you asked about trials and tribulations, you know, one of the biggest trials and tribulations I've had to endure, and you brought it up a little bit, was the hate.
Yeah.
The constant, like, you know, I'm sitting there in the background and I'm going like, dude, I'm just like making videos and I'm just like trying to teach people how to fish, and like, why do these guys hate me so bad?
Yeah.
You know, and sometimes I would sit at home and it would make me like extremely depressed.
Yeah.
Like it would get to me so bad to where it would literally put me in these like depression holes where I just felt terrible.
Yeah.
Back in the day, because I just didn't get it. You know, I thought, you know, I started it with the theme of no river names, right?
Yeah.
And to this day, I will hang my hat on the fact that we are the only platform in the entire Pacific Northwest that doesn't talk about where we fish.
Right.
If we go fish River X that's in Longview, we don't talk about River X.
Right.
We don't say it in the title. You can't find it in the description. You can't find it in the tags.
Yeah.
We don't talk about where we fish. If you know, you know.
Yeah.
If you watch that video and you know what river we're on because you fish it 50 times,
Good on you.
then good on you. You know what river we're on.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's not like, I'm not going to name other platforms, but there's a lot of other platforms that, like, in the titles of their videos, they're like, we're fishing here today.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and so back in the day, I just never understood why people were so mad.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and even now, it's like guys will be like, why did you teach him how to do that?
Yeah.
And it's like, well, why not?
Yeah.
Like, are you that selfish, dude, that you don't want someone else to know how to, like, catch a fish?
Yeah.
It's like the resource that we all pay for as taxpayers is for everyone.
Yeah.
Like, everyone should have the right to go out and catch a salmon and steelhead or a trout or a bass if they want to go out and try it.
Yeah, yeah. Everybody's paying for licenses. Everybody's lives in America.
Yeah.
Like you have the right, and you guys are giving people the opportunity to do that. You know,
Yeah,
what I
we're
mean?
just trying to curb the learning curve.
Right.
We're trying to curb it a little bit. And the reality is like, you and I both know, and anyone that watches our content, anyone that's good anglers out there, we don't give away everything.
Right.
There's a lot of stuff that we don't talk about. There's a lot of things that we don't say. There's a lot of rivers that we don't film on. Like, we pick and choose, and we try to be cognizant about that.
Yeah.
But through all that, you have to learn. Like, I learned, this is what happened. So I was sitting one time, and I called my buddy Lonnie. My buddy Lonnie Brooks, people know he was one of the originators of Addicted, kind of helping me back in the day. He's since become a lineman.
Yeah.
And so he doesn't, you know, he just works constantly. He's
All
got a
the time.
family, he's got a kid.
Yeah.
But I still consider him as part of Addicted as much as he wants to be. If he were to come back tomorrow and say, dude, I want to be in every video, I'd put him in every video.
Yeah.
Because that's how much, you know, he means to me.
Yeah.
But I called him, and I'm like, dude, I'm over it.
Yeah.
Like, I just can't. Like, I want to be able to just go out and fish and not have people be pissed off at me because I'm doing X or doing Y. And I think I'm gonna shut Addicted down and I'm gonna do something different.
Yeah.
Because I told him, I'm like, because I can make, you know, with my skills that I've learned in digital marketing and media and growing brands, I'm like, I could make a lot more money doing something different.
Yeah.
And Fishing Addicts was never about money for me.
Right.
It was never the reason I did it. And I hang up the phone, dude. And this is like one of those things that gives me like goosebumps every time I talk about it.
Yeah.
My phone goes ding. And I pull it up, and it's a Facebook message from a guy in Afghanistan. And he's sitting in a tent, and he's like, hey, I just want to let you know that I'm sitting here with 36 other soldiers in a tent, and we're watching Addicted fishing. And he tells me how he's from the Pacific Northwest, and he's been deployed for 4 years.
Yeah.
And he said, the only way that I get through every single day in my life, dude, is watching Addicted fishing.
Yeah.
And he said, we as soldiers, we wake up every day and we wait for your videos to come out because it's the only like thing that we can watch that like makes us feel like we're at home again.
Yeah. That is
and
amazing.
that moment right there, dude, I was like, you know what?
Yeah.
Like a light switch flipped on for me. And I literally was like, F the haters.
Yeah.
I don't give a crap anymore.
Yeah.
Like, I am going to, I don't know if you can cuss on this podcast, so I haven't.
Yeah, absolutely. You can. I got to restart that camera. Give me 1 minute. We're going to cut to just a quick break. I got to restart that camera or else we're going to lose the video.
Okay.
All right, just 1 second.
Yep.
Okay. Sorry for that last intermission.
No, it's all good.
You still got your train of thought. Let's keep that rolling.
Yeah. So like I said, like when I got that message, I just realized like it doesn't matter what some of these haters think. I'm letting a group of 20 to 30 people get in the way of like thousands of people that love what we do.
Yeah.
I just realized from that day forward, like I just don't care.
Yeah.
I just don't care what they say. I don't care what they do. I don't care. It just doesn't matter to me. And there's been times, don't get me wrong, there's been times where I've gone online and I've tried to like get into battles with people and, probably immaturely said things that I shouldn't have said.
Yeah.
But, I'm just really passionate about Addicted.
Yeah.
And so sometimes I try to protect the brand and protect the name if I see people saying things. But for the most part, dude, I don't. I just let them say whatever they want to say, and it is what it is.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you honestly, I'm in the process of trying to grow this thing and building a brand and trying to figure out my identity and my personality and what I want this thing to be. Like it's intimidating, and seeing like how fast you guys got big and seeing some of the hate that comes, it's intimidating to look at, and it's cool. It's cool having somebody that's been through it. You know what I mean? Like it's like if you have the heart and you have the soul and you're willing to deal with some bullshit, like you can do it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I told some of my friends, like, some of the people that are involved in Addicted, I said, hey, look, you are literally going to lose like some of your friends.
Right.
Like some of the people that you think are your friends are going to be so mad at you because you're in an Addicted video, or, Cliff.
Yeah.
Great example, right? Like Cliff is one of my awesome friends, and he does a lot with Addicted, and I would consider him a part of Addicted, right?
Yeah.
And he's had some people that he thought he respected really well just all of a sudden hate him because he came on an Addicted live feed. And it's like, I told Cliff, I'm like, dude, those guys aren't your friends.
Right.
Like they're just not. Like if they don't want to see you succeed, then they're not your friend.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so, you just have to understand that, like, and it's not easy. Don't get me wrong. There's still times when I let stuff get to me.
Yeah.
For sure. And there's even a couple people that are just in my head right now that I'm like, I hate that guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I let him get to me, but I shouldn't. It's like, you just got to understand that, like, care more about the people that care about you. Don't give people that don't care about you the time of day, because it's just a waste of time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's just an absolute waste of time. So
absolutely. Well, I got to tell you, it's absolutely, it's amazing. I mean, I've been following Addicted. Oh man, I got to say for probably 5 or 6 years, right about the time that I became buddies with my good buddy Brandon Powers. He was following Addicted, and he kind of got me into it. And just seeing how much it's grown in 5 or 6 years, like it's otherworldly.
It's wild, man.
You guys have built a national brand. Yeah,
it's crazy. So to tell you that, so we just did our summer merch drop last Sunday. If you guys haven't heard about it, every quarter we do like a limited merch drop, and it takes 3 months to get these things executed.
Yeah.
So we're working so right now, like the day we end the summer merch drop, we're already working on the fall merch drop. Yeah. They're a lot of work, but the fans love them and we love them. And it's a way for us to work with a bunch of small businesses and be able to grow their brands too. And, we just did it. And on the website, there was 1,100 people waiting for the merch drop to go live. And I was looking on Shopify, you can look at a map.
Yeah.
They were all over the country. Yeah. Michigan, Minnesota, Texas, Florida, Maine. I mean, there was dudes all over the entire country. And that to me was like really cool. Yeah. It was like, this little Northwest brand that I built has grown into something I could have never even freaking dreamed of, Yeah. And through it all, my heart fluttered a little bit when you said you guys have grown fast, because it's like I look at it and I'm like, dude, I've spent 14 years of my life like grinding every day possible to try to get it where it's at. Yeah. But you're right, like the last 2 to 3 years has been like an explosion.
Yeah. Like, I guess it's all a matter of like perspective, because like you said, you've been at it for 14 years, but from an outsider's point of view, like it happened quick.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
And I will say, like, I will agree with you. Like, the last 2-3 years has been crazy. Like, the growth that's happened in the last 2 to 3 years has been nuts.
Yeah.
It's really cool to see.
Yeah. You guys a lot of English. You guys have got a lot of cool stuff coming up. From where Addicted is sitting right now, do you have any kind of vision of where you want Addicted to go, or are you just gonna keep running it?
I want it to go nationwide.
Yeah,
like to a point where it's like massive.
Yeah,
like I'm trying to, my goals are so. One of the things I learned from a few entrepreneurs and a few people that I really respect that have become really successful in life is never set your goals too small.
Right.
And so I'm trying to make Addicted to where it's like known worldwide.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
I'm trying to make the brand big.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the cool things that we're working on that I'll sneak peek out on this podcast is the first time anyone's ever heard it. About 6 months ago, I get a message on LinkedIn. If you don't use LinkedIn and you have a business, you should have a LinkedIn.
Yeah.
But I get a message on LinkedIn and I pull it up and it's the fishing buyer at Walmart.
Oh, really?
And he messages me and he says, "Hey man, I'm a huge fan of your brand. We've seen what you guys have done for years now. We already carry some of your must-add stuff. Mm-hmm. What do we have to do to get more Addicted product into our stores?"
That's awesome. That's
and
huge.
So for the last 6 months, we've been working on our first ever Walmart feature.
That is awesome.
So in August, we will have a Walmart feature that'll be placed in 55 Pacific Northwest stores. Yeah. And it'll be like a pallet display that'll sit in the middle of an aisle. We've designed 4 custom UPF like sun shirts that are limited only available at Walmart.
Really?
We've designed 5 hats, brand new hats that will only be available at Walmart. Then we'll also have our twitching jigs and our salmon jigs. So if you envision like a 4-wall thing,
yeah,
it's got like shirts and hats on either side, and then it's got our twitching jigs and our salmon hooks on either side of that.
Yeah.
And it's going to be placed in 55 stores in the Northwest. So
that is huge.
It's
That's
crazy,
big,
man.
Dude.
It's one of those things where you're like, even like back in the day when the Costco thing happened, it's like I never thought I would walk into a Costco and see like my face
yeah.
in a Costco, so
yeah, for sure.
It's really nuts. And I'm trying to like, one of the things, another person that I really respect is like, just staying humble through all that.
Yeah.
Like really understanding that like you still have to earn it, dude. You still have to work hard. Like even though you got into Walmart, like you didn't make it yet.
Right.
Like
right.
you still have a lot more to accomplish.
Yeah.
And so I've been trying to stay humble through all that and just know that again, it's like it's like if that stuff goes into Walmart and all of our fans don't go to Walmart and buy it, it's over.
Right.
So
it's so cool because like you guys are going to be putting your stuff into Walmart, but you're still doing your bashes at Bob's Sporting Goods.
Yep.
You're still doing Fisherman's Marine and Outdoor. Like you guys are still paying attention. You guys are still staying true to what you are. You know what I mean?
Yep.
You guys stay true to the educate, entertain, and inspire. You know
exactly.
what I mean?
And that's what, and as long, I feel like, dude, as long as I can keep that motto through everything that I do, mm-hmm. I feel like we'll be a strong brand for years to come,
Yeah.
I really, I want to see it, like I said, I want to see it going worldwide. And it's cool. We've been selling stuff to like New Zealand lately.
Oh,
and
really?
Some stuff to Australia. And so I think we're getting there, dude. You just never know how big it can be.
Yeah, that is amazing, man. That is awesome. Real quick, before we take off here, you wanted to talk a little bit about your guys' summer drop and your fillet knife and stuff.
Yeah, so again, we did our summer drop this last Sunday. There's tons of limited edition items. One of the cool things that we do is we do a lot of limited plugs. That's been like a big draw to the drop.
Yeah.
Guys collecting plugs in the Northwest has been a pretty big thing, even back to the iFish days when guys were collecting like the iFish, quick fish and
you
stuff.
You still
back
hear
in
about
the
those?
I have like 6 of them.
Oh, do you?
Yeah. So that was a big thing, and I always kind of want to continue that. I think the custom plug thing's cool. So we've been doing that. We do custom. These are hand-painted plugs. We work with local custom painters in the Northwest to empower their businesses. And, we hand paint them, we number them, we come up with specific designs. And so we do those in our drops. The drop's huge. You just have to go to the website. It's going to take another hour of this podcast if I try to tell you everything that's in the drop. But one thing I do want to talk about is the fillet knife. So we set out to basically make what we think is the best salmon steelhead, Northwest fillet knife that's ever been created. Cameron spent over 2 years developing this. On the first one that we had made out of Idaho by a custom knife builder, Cam filleted like over 1,000 salmon on it.
Oh yeah.
Before we even did anything with it to try to, change things and test it. And so we inevitably ended up going with a company out of California, a veteran-owned company called Tor Knives.
Okay, yeah.
And so they're making the knives for us. It's an AEBL steel that goes through a special tempering process. Mm-hmm. So we're using really quality steel, but then the big thing is this tempering process that we use. It's all in the hardening and the tempering of the steel.
Yeah.
And then the sharpening, the sanding, a lot goes into it. And basically what we're trying to do with the blade and what we think we've accomplished is you should easily be able to fillet 50 to 100 salmon without even ever having to touch it on a sharpener.
That's amazing. That's awesome.
So that's the idea with the knife. We went through a lot of testing, figuring out, okay, what's the right diameter? What's the right thickness of metal? How should the point be? How should the handle be?
Yeah.
A lot went into the knife, and I think we're really excited about how it landed. I think people out there are too. We sold like 170 of them in 24 hours.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So pretty freaking cool, and there's still some available. So if you guys want to get one of the best salmon steelhead fillet knives, in my humble opinion, that's ever been made, you can get them on our website right now.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I've seen, on the interwebs, I've seen some guys complaining about the prices and stuff, and I can tell you straight up, like, I'm the kind of guy that I will go and I'll buy 4 or maybe even 5 Dexter knives a year. Over time, like how much money am I going to be saving if I were to go get one of those? You know what I mean?
That's the way I look at it too. So it does have a lifetime warranty against any craftsmanship defects. If the blade chips, if the tip breaks off, if the handle breaks, anything like that, we're going to replace it for you, free of charge, lifetime warranty.
Yeah, that's huge, man.
So I think that's a big deal too. And one last little nugget that I'll give people that I told you that I haven't told anyone else. I haven't even said this on my own platform yet. But after grinding for 14 years at Addicted and working another job this entire time, March 1st of this year, I actually quit my full-time job.
Oh, really?
So March 1st, so I've been working Addicted full-time for just a few months now.
Yeah, that's amazing, dude. So, congratulations.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. It's scary. It's scary, It's like I'm going to be honest with people out there. Like, I took a massive pay cut.
Yeah.
I made really good money at my job being a vice president of a huge e-commerce company, and it's scary quitting. It's scary jumping into my business full-time, but I think it's time, and I think I'm ready, and I think if I want to grow it and get it to a whole nother level, it needs 100% of me.
Yeah. Well, I think that just says a lot about the faith that you have in what you're doing too. It's not just something that you kind of thrown together. You've spent 14 years building it.
Yeah.
So that's huge.
Oh, trust me, it was 4 months of arguments with my wife before I could convince her to let me quit my job.
Yeah. So, well, that's awesome, man.
I'm excited about it, dude, and I'm excited about this thing. And one of the things I want to say to kind of end this podcast, and I hope this kind of sticks with Clayton as he continues to grind it, is, dude, just don't give up.
Yeah.
One of the things that I see happen with a lot of people that try to start things in the Northwest in particular, and it probably happens really anywhere, is they give up too quick. Right. Like this content game that you're trying to get into is a hard game.
Yeah.
It takes time to build an audience.
Yeah.
And the one thing that's the beauty of it is everyone has time. You're on Earth for however long you're going to be here. So why not enjoy it and do something you love? So just stick with it, dude. Consistency is everything. Put out a podcast once a week, and if you can do that consistently for 2 years, I promise you at the end, you're going to look back and go, I'm glad I did that.
Yeah. That's huge. So, I appreciate that advice, and I'm definitely going to take it to heart, because that's one thing that I've been trying really hard to do is, 6 months into this, I've missed 2 weeks, and those 2 weeks eat me alive. I wish that I could go back in time and say, you know what, I could have tried a little harder to put one out that week.
Yep.
And
could have done one by yourself.
Yeah. I don't even know what I would say.
maybe people want to know about you and your background, dude, and why you're starting a podcast.
Yeah.
That'd be kind of interesting.
Yeah. I'll have to keep that in mind, because there's a lot of regret in those 2 weeks that I missed, and at the end of the day, it's only 2 weeks, but that's 2 weeks that I could have grown instead of stagnated. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, and, it's good that you're thinking that way, dude, because that's the kind of mindset that you got to have, and hopefully all the listeners out there are going to continue to listen to it, and make sure you tell your friends and tell your buddies and get other people to listen. And I say it all the time on YouTube and on our own platforms. It's like, none of us like having to ask you, like, hey, can you drop a comment, or can you please thumbs up the video? Or honestly, we don't want to have to ask.
Yeah.
But we know that if we do ask, it gets more people to do it. And the reality is with these platforms, guys, is most of the time, like, YouTube doesn't care about Clayton.
Yeah.
Like, they have a lot of other people that they're trying to do stuff with. They say that every minute a new creator starts a YouTube channel.
Jeez.
Every minute. So right now, as we're talking, like, there's dudes starting YouTube channels. And so it's the audience that really grows it. And that's why I always try to give props to the Addicted audience, because it's yes, I've worked hard, and yes, I've done a lot to grow the brand, but the reality is it's the audience that grows the brand.
Yeah.
And so keep that in mind if you guys are out there listening. Like, Clayton needs your help. Share the thing out there as much as you can. It's going to help grow this thing.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it. And I appreciate you taking time to sit down with me for a little over an hour tonight. I know you got your wife's ready for you to come home. I'm sure my wife's ready for me to be home.
Exactly.
And yeah, thank you for fitting me into your busy schedule, man. It means a ton. And yeah,
glad to have you guys, and let's hear some comments if you guys want to see Jordan on here next.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Let's see if we can get Jordan into this podcast. But
that'd be awesome.
Appreciate you having me, man.
Yeah, absolutely. One thing before we go is I had talked to Marlin about maybe doing a little bit of an addicted giveaway for this episode, and he said that he would be good to line that out. So we'll I'm not sure what we're getting yet, but we're going to get you guys something. So stay tuned.
It'll be good, trust me.
So awesome. Alrighty. Thank you guys very much. I hope you guys have a happy and a safe 4th of July. Everybody stay safe. Don't lose all your fingers. You got to tie fishing knots.
Exactly.
So all right. You guys have a great weekend. Tight lines. We'll see you next time.